So good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I am Danielle, better known as Danielle, the happy medium in the industry. And as many of you requested and have talked to me quite a lot on lives, videos, and emails and things I've received, I'm back with another video entitled Real Medium versus the Observant Medium. This may help some of you certainly understand a little bit more about how your information is being given to you from the spirit world. So I'm going to do the generals and then I'm going to get into the content and then we'll take it from there. You can always like, share and subscribe to the channel. Comments in the box below. If you're new to the channel or you're just coming across this video for the first time, come on over. We talk about all things spiritual, mediumship development, psychic ability, your loved ones in the spirit world. Video content goes up once a week, and then I do a live once a month, just so that you can come along with your questions that I may not have covered in the video content that I put up onto the channel. If you want me to do a video, leave it in the comments box or get in touch with us via the email addresses in the comments box as well. So there's quite a bit. For those who are return subscribers, thanks very much for watching the content. I couldn't do it without you, so I'm eternally grateful. Been a little quiet over the last couple of weeks. I've had some time off, but we're back doing sort of the video content as you asked. So without further ado, and now that I've done all of the good stuff, we're going to talk a little bit about what I discussed with the video content title, which is real-time medium versus the observant medium. And I'm hoping through this video, you will have a better understanding of how your evidence is given to you, how you're connecting as well, and hopefully may be able to push your mediumship forward or certainly get a bit more of an insight into your development. So let's break it down, probably is the best way to start this video. So real-time medium, that is what I call it. It's a title that I use. But what I'm really saying to you, or what the spirit world's really saying to you is that you become the communicator. So what happens there is that some people who are probably watching the channel will be in classes or in circles and they're scrabbling around looking for bits of evidence. They've got no real sort of starting block and they're just sort of like waiting. You'll understand that. Waiting for a bit of evidence to drop in. What's happened there and what you probably haven't realized, and this is one that I don't see a lot talked about in development and also across the board, because most, if not all, mediums are taught to be an observant medium. Very few are taught in this world. And so for me, it's important we talk about this, and so that you really understand the difference. Now, some people do both. Some people are just real time, some people are observant mediums, and I'm going to cover all aspects in this, but I really want to stay here for a minute, then I'll move on to the next. Real time means you become the communicator. So the communicator has now become you. So you've sort of like moved out the way as a medium, or as you who's watching this video, and you've become the communicator who's come from the spirit world. Now, what tends to happen here is you will become one of the things, and it's just been dropped into my mind there from through, if you're quite a heavy clairsentience medium, this one's really going to work for you. It means that basically you are now going to start and take on their ailments. So you're going to take on how they feel. You're going to take on their conditions. So for example, if you didn't have a bad head and then all of a sudden you've got a bad head, then what's happened is you've actually become the communicator. Now, what also this means as well, you see it as if you were walking it as them when they were here to the earth world. So what tends to happen is your eyes or your third eye or your mind or whatever word label you want to use there, you will actually be the gentleman or the lady and you'll actually be walking. You can walk around the house, you can walk around a hospital, you can do all of them things, but it's more of you as in you're doing it. And what tends to happen is through this, what you can do is walk into a house, you can sit down at the table because you've become the communicator and you will start to take on their personalities. You'll maybe sit the way they did. You'll maybe talk aspects of them. These are some of the signs that you're a real-time medium. And what you have to be very aware of is you're not going to get your evidence out here. You're probably saying, well, give us a bit of evidence, this fraud, give us a bit of evidence, but nothing's happening. And that's because they have. But what you haven't recognized is that you've become the communicator, and that the communicator is now walking you through the piece of evidence that they want you to do. So what's important is to make sure that if nothing's coming, what I say is check in with you. So check in. If you know your body quite well, and you know you, so you, some as a men, some as a women, right? You know how you feel as an individual. If you feel all of a sudden, I feel like, oh, I've become like a man, or I feel like I'm an old woman, like I feel like I'm 50, but I'm only in my 30s. That's a sign that you've become a real medium, and that's where you need to start with your communication. This one is one that I think catches a lot of people out. A lot of people miss this because, like I say, most mediums, if not all mediums, are taught to do the observed medium, and I'm going to get into that in a second, and then you can probably see what it is that I'm trying to get over. So it's important to talk about this so that some people don't think that they're doing it wrong, or they feel like nothing's coming, or they get the impression that, oh, well, it's not working for me. They're a few of the statements that I've heard in my rooms. And what's happened is because the medium is trying to be observant. Now, observant means thoughts dropped in. Well, Danielle, the information just sort of appears in my mind. That's what we call an observant medium. Well, Danielle, I just sort of heard that name shouted in. That's an observant medium. Well, Danielle, I just sort of knew that was right. This is what we call observant mediums, and you'll probably be able to recognize that. You'll probably understand that. Some people may not, and understand more of the real time, but these are some of the clues, or some of the things that will be said when you're the observant medium. Observant means that we're actually watching the information. We're not actually being given the information. That's probably another way to talk about a real-time medium. They are given the information. The information becomes them. Observant mediums they work that information. It's sort of presented to them. They work it through their mind, and then they speak it. That's how it sort of works. So observant mediums are just sort of given a piece of information, or just sort of drops in, and then they can sort of speak it. There may be some database and point references with the mind to give it more punch, or more sort of power, and then it's obviously spoken. Observant mediums, a lot of people are observant mediums. I am one, but I also do real time as well. I do both. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, so do forgive me for that. Observant mediums tend to be able to just sort of watch the piece of information unfold. They sort of have what do we call like a bird's eye view of it. They're not actually the information. They're sort of observing that information as the communicator, speaking it, saying it, hearing it, feeling it. And this is where a lot of people get caught out, being the real time, because a lot of people talk about observant mediums, clairvoyance and clairaudience and clairsentience, and all of these ones that we hear so regularly in the industry, but nobody really talks about the medium becoming the communicator. And what tends to happen is we rely too heavily here on these sensory systems, but what we don't actually realize is that you could actually become the communicator, and that you are now that communicator, and you're just walking and talking it like they would have, as if they were here to the earth world. These are the two different ones that I've seen and observed over the years of training and development mediums. I've also seen them mixed together. Some information is given real time, some information is given observantly. So one thing that will catch people out, and does catch people out, is that they may be doing some communication quite observantly, then all of a sudden they may get some pieces that are real time, but they don't quite grab that, or they don't quite see that, or they don't know about that. So therefore what happens is it's either dismissed or it goes blank. Here's another one that I hear. When it goes blank, it's because it's being given to you, not in a sensory system, it's being given into you more as a real-time medium in order for you to explore. Now, I did do a video on literal evidence and also symbolic evidence. These two tend to tie together. And it's important that we understand them things, because the more we understand these things, the more it's going to be easier for you as the medium to get the evidence down. If you're one of them mediums who are struggling to grab a piece of evidence, struggling to sort of, why is it that everybody else is getting it and I'm not? Look at what kind of medium you are. Look at whether or not you're being trained in a way that is observant rather than the real-time medium. Because if you're being trained like this, or if you're getting, if you're working with people or you're around people or circles or whatever, but nobody's talking about this in real time, you're going to miss this because everybody's going to be doing this. So you're trying to become this, and that's not how you work. When you mix the pair of them together and you get that blank, you've got to then think to yourself, well, hold up a minute, is there been a change in the way that the work is being presented, or way in which the evidence, probably works the wrong word there, evidence is being presented? The more we can understand our literal work versus the symbolic work versus what's been observantly given to us versus what we're taking on at real time, the more you've got to be able to understand your mechanics more. The more you understand the mechanics of how the spirit world's giving you evidence, the faster you're going to get moving. The quicker it's going to be for you to get up and on your feet. And I hear loads and loads of mediums, and I used to say to the spirit world, like, what's the problem here? Like, and why is it that some get this but some don't get that? What's going on there? And over the months of asking that question, this information, knowledge become available to me, and it's now where I can present it to you as the individuals who are watching the channel, or if you want to share this video with your friends, to be able to understand more about making sure that you're not doing some real time and some observant, or you are the real time medium. Now, the difference between the real time medium and the observant medium is this asks for a deeper level of what we call the brainwave matters. There's a level of depth here, all right? There's a lot more, how can I put it? What's the best word I can use? Excuse me. It's what I would call a level of the mind being more accepting. In the real time medium, it's more accepting, there's more allowing there. A lot of people miss that and think it's a blank, or they miss it and think, oh, well, I'm not getting anything, or they think that they're doing something wrong, but actually you're not. It's just you haven't recognized that. The observant medium, while still has a lot of allowing, is still observing that information. So they're not allowing the information close or anything like that. It's just that it's more. Observant mediums are great, and I do a lot of observant mediums as well, but there needs to be a deepening of that work, which is symbolic and literal, to make sure that we're really getting involved in that observant work and making sure that we're getting to the key reasons, or what I call chunky pieces of evidence. Observant mediums can sometimes skim around the edges. That's where we hear the fluff. You'll have heard that word in the industry, the fluff. It's observant mediums skimming around the side. Is it a matter of fear? Yes, a lot of it is fear, but it's also a lack of awareness and understanding of your building and mechanics. It's a lack of awareness of what kind of medium and how that evidence is being presented to you. And are you needing to shift gears, as I say, in order to be able to get that evidence in? If you're doing a mixture, you'll probably find at times, now here's another one, some of you may have done communications and felt, God, I could cry. I feel like I'm going to cry when I do this communication. I feel that's what we call a person who is now starting to become a real-time medium. There's a closeness more there with the spirit world. There is more allowing with the spirit world there. There's more of the story being told. So for me, it's important that you as the viewers understand the difference. You will start to recognize. Now, what would be an exercise for you to be able to do this? Sitting in the power. This is one that I would recommend. Sit in the power and look at the way in which that, if you have a guide, or even if you're just connecting without a guide, look at the way the images or the words or the feelings are being given to you. Are they coming from a more of an outside observation, or are they more coming from an in-depth inside of you? If they're coming of an inside of you, then they're more real time. If it's more observantly that you're getting, then you're more an observant medium. You're observing the pictures and such like things that the spirit world has given you. That's the one that you could try no more than 10 to 15 minutes, because otherwise the mind, especially if you're a beginner, is going to get excited and maybe start adding bits and pieces in there, which you don't want. If you're a more experienced medium, use the time accordingly, but don't overdo it. That's what I would say to you. So the next time you're doing any kind of communication and you think you haven't got anything, first one, don't panic. I would say that to people, don't panic. Check to see how the information's being given to you. Is it coming from inside or is it coming out observantly? Look within. You've maybe heard that word. Look within. That's what they mean. Look within means look because you become the communicator. Now, that doesn't mean that the communicators took out your soul and all them types of things. Nah, I just want to put that bit out there, right? Just in case people start to think, well, hold on a minute, Danielle, what's going on there? No, it's what's called a deeper level of awareness within the mind. Basically, spirit cannot take over souls and take over bodies and such like things. That's a very old and very outdated myth in both thing in the industry. I don't think that was the right word there, like, but it might be a boop that, but here we go. So that's a little bit about what I want to talk to you about today. Let me know if any of this resonates. Let me know if this is sort of where, if you're thinking, well, actually, Danielle, that's actually making some sense. I'm going to try it out. See how you get on with this in classes and courses, you know, such like things. It's not something that's talked about a lot in the industry. I am aware of this. And a lot of years are being shown or being taught this way. And while that fits for many, it doesn't fit for all. So double check for those who are struggling here if you're not doing it like this. And for those who are doing all right here or struggling here, check to make sure that it shouldn't be done like this. Or can you mix them both together? There's a question for you. I'll be interested to see how your development comes along. It's always good to chat to you about, you know, connections to your mechanics and stuff. Like I say, if there's any videos you want me to do, get in touch. Again, this is through my perception of my reality of working with the spirit world now for many years. Let me know how this video works for you, you know, like, share, comment, you know, all the good stuff that you lot do here on the channel. I'll see you all next week for another video on whatever topic or whatever comes up for me this week that the spirit world want me to share with you. Have a beautiful week wherever you are in the world, and I will say bye for now. Bye-bye.